I had my son so young, we lived with my parents for the first couple of years of his life, and when we did move out of their house, we actually got a house 10 houses away from theirs. So my son has always been extremely close to my parents because they've always been a huge part of his life. They've always been extremely active in his life. And when it came to my dad specifically, he was always one of the boys. He was always wanting to do the kid shit with the kids, okay? So when my son became a teenager and he wanted to start hanging out with his friends more, no big deal for my dad whatsoever because he would just hang out with them too. And so, like, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, my dad started this tradition accidentally where he would take my son and his friends to Haunted World every year. Haunted World is like this spooky haunted corn maze where I live that happens in September and October. And so, for the first weekend that it opens up every single year, all the boys would meet at my house. My dad would come out here and he would pick them all up and he would take them to Haunted World, where my father, a 50-something-year-old man, would go running around with all these teenage boys away from people chasing them through a corn maze with like hatchets and chainsaws and shit, okay? And so, because my dad did this type of stuff with my son and all his friends, they all became really close to my dad and they all called him Pocket because that's what my son called him. I have no idea why my kids called my dad Pocket, but at this point, everybody calls my dad Pocket. And in June, my dad was hit and killed by a negligent truck driver. And when this happened, my son and his friends all went to my dad's funeral in Harley shirts in his honor because he was a big biker. Anyway, here's a photo of the boys who have to go to Haunted World this year without Pocket because some guy decided to not make any attempts to yield at a flashing yellow turn.